The trilling of the phone was almost equal to the pounding in Jamar's head. He reached out his hand without bothering to open his eyes, groping blindly for the phone. Dirty sock, dirty underwear, dirty dish. Not even sure what that is. He finally found the phone and lifted it to his ear. Someone better be dead. He rasped menacingly into the phone. Yeah, it's about to be you if you keep up that tone with me, his sister Malika slapped back. Jamar grabbed his head and groaned at the sound of his voice. Malika was a beautiful woman, no doubt about that. After all, she was his sister, so she got her share of the good genes. But she had a demeanor that would make a drill sergeant envious and a voice to match. If she started that militant revolution shit right now, he hoped he wouldn't be held responsible in a court of law for his response. Malika, can you call me back at a reasonable time? Say 2 p.m. next Tuesday? His voice, already crackled, was further muffled by the pillow he had pushed over his face to block out the sunlight. What? I can't understand a damn thing you're saying. Malika spit into the phone. It's not my fault you keep your ass out all night long drinking with those loser friends of yours at that dive bar. I know black folks everywhere are celebrating Obama's election and all, which, is really just a neoliberal plot to diffuse the power of the oppressed masses by giving us a figurehead when our people are suffering in the street every day. But shit, get up, cause the world as we know it is about to change. Her voice sparkled with fervor. You're gonna miss everything. Your lazy ass will thank me for this later. Jamar licked his lips, so dry they were painful, like a dress 2 sizes too small. She was right about one thing at least. Should have drank more water and less whiskey last night. But then, that wasn't a new story for him. The only difference was, for once, he had all the black folks in Harlem, most of the Puerto Ricans, and half of the liberal white folks with him. Jamar didn't really care about politics. In fact, he had been too ashamed to say he hadn't voted for Obama. Shit, he hadn't voted for anybody since junior high school president. And then he voted for himself. But seeing old man Joe, a permanent figure at Remy's bar, crying like a baby as he talked about his father who had been lynched, dreaming that such a day would come, Jamar was proud to raise up a toast. Or 6. But, of course, that meant he was in a very familiar position, along with 85% of the nation's black population, hungover, pissed off, and losing any shreds of patience he'd had left. What am I gonna miss? A good day's rest? Too late, I already missed it. What? Her voice had an octave designed to make his head crack open like a walnut shell. You mean you really have been in bed all this time? You haven't even gotten up to do anything at all? Brush your teeth? Nothing? Jamar, just because you ain't got a job, again, doesn't mean you need to be the saddest person on this planet. I'm not telling you to go work for some capitalist white supremacist oppressor, but there are so many community programs and centers that could use a brother like you. Don't buy into this post-racial madness sweeping the nation. You know Obama in the White House ain't fitting to change the material conditions of the brothers and sisters on the streets. You should be involved in our community. You should be helping young cats stay out of the gangs. At the very least, you could get up and wash your ass once in a while, damn. Malika sighed a heavy sigh. Laden with the burden of being born the younger sister to such a shiftless, counter-revolutionary fool. Jamar rubbed the short dreadlocks springing out his head in all directions and rolled his eyes. He really did not need this shit. Not so early in the afternoon. Okay then, not so early in the evening, sure. He had lost his job a week ago, and sure, it had been the 9th job this year. Yes, he had drunk up the last of his money last night and slept so long today he hadn't had a chance to get out to look for work like he planned. Like he had planned every day this week. But damn, that's why we needed to drink, because he was broke and jobless. And her old power to the people routine was just too tired. Their parents had been part of the Philly chapter of the Black Panthers. They had both done time, gotten their asses beat by the cops to make a better world for their kids. Had given both Jamar and Malika African names, celebrated Kwanzaa, and all that super black shit. But this wasn't 1968 anymore. America had just proved that last night, hadn't it? This was a new day, one where black people could truly do anything, even become president. Power to the people, my ass. The only power Jamar was worried about right now was his electricity, since he hadn't paid the bill in about 2 months. Satisfied that Jamar was properly chastised, Malika continued. Well, if you had been awake at a decent hour, you would have heard about the most incredible shit ever imagined. This is a dawning of a new day for the oppressed people around the world, big brother. And I ain't talking about the black puppet in the White House. Who would have thought, when the revolution happened, it would not come from a third world, but from another world? She giggled uncontrollably, and for a minute, Jamar remembered the ashy-kneed little girl in braids who used to squeal when he pushed her on the rusty swing set in the schoolyard, demanding to be pushed higher and higher. But of course, she had to ruin that moment. Look, are you ready for this stuff? You sitting down? Well, knowing you, you're probably still laying down. I at least hope you have some drawers on, 'cause you know I hate talking to you when you're naked. Will you just tell me what the fuck is going on or leave me the hell alone? Jamar's frustrated yell felt like a hammer to his head, but he just couldn't take it anymore. Motherfucking aliens, motherfucker. Okay? She threw the words out like daggers. There are motherfucking aliens. They just arrived this morning, and in exactly 2 minutes, they are fitting to address us. Jamar was silent for a minute. Then he said, rage leaking out of the tone of his sides, You woke me up when I have a pounding headache to play some stupid-ass game with me. So help me, Malika. It's true, Malika yelled back. These aliens are from outer space are here, and they want to talk. And just wait till you hear whose voice they are talking with. The silence was deafening. Damn it, turn on the TV. It's all they're talking about, and watch for your damn self. That is, she retorted, if that busted-ass set of yours can even pick up a decent picture. Don't even know why I bother with you, I swear. Malcolm X, give me strength, was her parting goodbye as she hung up the phone. She thinks she's so funny, he muttered to himself as he tossed the phone back into the dead sea that was his bedroom floor from where he came. I'm not turning on the TV, he said to himself firmly. I'm not playing along with whatever game she's up to. Jamar closed his eyes and rolled over. And over. And over. What the hell, he said, throwing up the blanket. I'm up, so might as well see what's on. He threw some sweatpants over the boxers Malika would be so glad to know he was wearing, padding into the living room and dropped down onto the couch. He dug the remote out of the crevice of the couch, along with a pizza crust, a peppermint candy still in its wrapper, and a lint ball the size of a baby's head. He clicked the warm power button. His pout quickly changed to a look of disbelief and amazement. His jaw dropped. A giant chrome spaceship hovering over the Capitol filled the screen on every station he flipped to. It was fairly flat and had a number of prongs that stretched out from the base. Jamar realized ruefully that it sort of looked like a space-age afro pick. No wonder Malika was so excited. The audio running with the image was of the aliens, who had used the voice pattern of a revolutionary poet, Jill Scott Heron. Everything they said sounded like it should have been set to the beat of a Congo drum, performed in front of audiences that would snap at the completion and then would go burn down some white-owned stores. We reach out in solidarity to the scarred peoples of planet Earth. We do not come in peace, but in justice. We have traveled many light years to engage your populations in a revolutionary exchange. We have technology that can cure many diseases, that can create sustainable food growth, for soil purification, for renewable resources of energy. We have resources and knowledge to bring power to your scarred communities and enable you to establish autonomous spaces that you administer and defend, the power to determine the destinies of your own communities. Autonomous spaces? Damn, Jamar said. They must have just been reading those big-ass, dull books Malika was always trying to push on him. We want to be clear. We cannot just give these to you. It is not that we do not wish it, but our technology is not like yours. We do not build something independent of ourselves. To create something new, we, all of us, must grow it together, each putting in pieces of ourselves. By giving, we are enriched. Jamar snorted. Sounded like a pyramid scam. If they threw in a trip to Hawaii, they'd get more suckers to bite. But we can commit to staying here and working with you until these technologies are fully birthed. Please understand, though, that this is not charity, but an act of solidarity. If this was a Jill Scott poem, this is where everyone would have snapped. Because we must devote individuals, equipment, and resources, we can only focus on a part of your planet at a time. So, right now, our offer is only open to those scarred peoples in the country called the United States of America. Scarred peoples, Jamar thought. Is that what this cat keeps saying? Did he mean scared and it was a glitch in the translation? In exchange for this, we ask that the scarred people of the United States of America commit to joining us in liberating other scarred peoples in the galaxy for the next 8 of your Earth years and help us create autonomous communities open to all scarred people everywhere. This is how we are able to bring this to your planet. And we believe it is only right to continue to pass on the aid we receive. Scarred people of the United States, we picked you because we monitor your recent history. We saw all scarred communities coming together to protest unjust wars, challenge abuses of power, and work to create a new world. We saw your young take to the streets in rage and hope. We heard the voices of your greatest philosophers, like the one whose voice I now use to speak to you. And it resonated deeply in us, as we too know that the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers and sisters. The revolution will be live. Jamar started. They were talking about the 1960s, but that was so long ago. Either they got their wires crossed and messed up on the time, or time passes real different for them than for humans, us scarred people, whatever that is. Malika must have been shitting herself with joy. Scarred people of the United States, you have a week to decide. Dig it. The end of the transmission created a typhoon of commentary on TV and radio stations. What did an autonomous community mean? What would they be liberating? And what the hell were scarred people? Jill Scott's rich voice cut back in, silencing the cacophony. We understand. Scarred peoples is the term we have created to represent all of us who have experienced the exploitation of our labor, our culture, our histories, and our bodies by populations promulgated under fraudulent, hierarchical, genetic supposition based on visual demarcations of difference. The silence was deafening. Look, Jill said, starting to sound a bit irked. We come from many planets, many races and species. We have joined together because we have been oppressed in our home worlds. I am of those who the first scarred peoples to rise up. We freed ourselves with the solidarity of scarred peoples from a nearby star. We made the commitment to do the same for others and to grow our ranks of scarred liberators. We are here speaking to the scarred people of the United States of America, those who have suffered from this brutality so familiar to our own, what you call white supremacy, racism, colonization. We are only speaking to those who have decided to call yourselves people of color. Can you dig it now? Jill must not have been as confident in our power of collective comprehension because he added, So, those of y'all who ain't white, we await your reply. The airways exploded. Phone lines jammed as people across the country called in to talk radio. On Fox News, commentators foamed at the mouth, each screaming over each other. This is reverse discrimination. We should take this as a direct attack against our way of life. These aliens are jealous of normal Americans' freedoms. The US military knows more about bringing freedom to places than anywhere else on the globe. Just look at Iraq and Afghanistan. Just ask Vietnam. Maybe we should show those aliens a little bit of how we bring liberation, American style. The calls for military actions were, however, somewhat muted after the display of power by the alien spaceship, which, with one burst of its lasers, disabled every weapon in the Washington, D.C. area, down to every warhead, missile, bomb, and handgun. What about Obama? People, especially white people, implored. We just elected the first black president in the history of the country yesterday. Doesn't that count for anything? Not really. Jill was definitely more than a little peeved at the unexpected slowness. Guess he was planned on landing in the middle of a Black Panther rally, Chamar thought. On our planet, we had some of our kind who were in positions of power. That in no way changed the conditions of the masses of scarred people who were enslaved and exploited. We know from centuries of experience working in intergalactic solidarity that this will not change your situation for the better, and perhaps it will make it much worse. We have seen that after a token advancement such as this, the backlash against the scarred peoples is indescribable, often setting back the cause for liberation decades. But, as it should be, as it ever was, the choice is yours, scarred peoples of USA. Jamar leaned back in his ratty couch, absent-mindedly unwrapped the peppermint candy and popped it in his mouth, which was still hanging open. Well, the shit's about to hit the fan now, isn't it? Jamar asked the empty room in wonder.